Ryan Harrow, born April 22nd, 1991. Today's feature is one of my favorite high school basketball players of his time. Not because he was the biggest, strongest, or most ferocious, but because he reminded me a lot of myself. Smooth game, always composed, and ready for any challenge. Ryan was a part of a stacked point guard class of 2010 and would have definitely made some noise had these things not happened. Salute to YouTube users Blake the Great, solid dude right there, and Jeremy Harp 1993 for the request, man. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Ash, get it. Ryan Harrow was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but really made a name for himself in Marietta, Georgia. One of the dopest mixtapes on the Clout Machine to this day. His shit's cold as ice. As a junior, he averaged 27.8 points, 6 assists, and 3 steals. That year, he was named a Georgia 5A All-State First Team selection and Mr. Cobb County Basketball. His senior year, he averaged 31 points a game and was named Georgia Gatorade Player of the Year, a Georgia 5A Player of the Year, and Mr. Cobb County Basketball for the second time. He had star player written all over him, but there was still one glaring deficiency. Stunt number 1, grown man body. Now, I'm gonna need y'all to walk with me while I hash this out. From my perspective, you don't need to be super yoked or a guy that hits the weight room 3-4 times a week to be a great player. As we see now in today's game, it's almost obsolete. Don't get me wrong, you still must be strong enough for the selected game you have. Let's take Steph Curry. He doesn't look physically imposing or much different from the regular guy on the street, but he's reportedly really strong and can take hits with the best of them. Along with that, his game doesn't require him to take much hits at all. Kevin Durant, his game also doesn't require him to be the strongest, but the way he plays and avoids contact really changed the game. With that said, both those guys still have what I would call their man bodies. Ryan Harrow always seemed to never really grow into his physical man body. Now, it didn't stop him from being a dominant high school player or college player, but at that height, being that physically small with a game that requires him to get in the lane at all costs, he just wasn't fit for high-level basketball like the NBA. Now, there are some that get away with that, and that's just luck of the draw and great timing. For Ryan's time, I think it stunted his growth, having his growth being stunted. Had he been blazing fast like Tyler Ulis or other skills that didn't require much contact, he would have definitely been a draft pick. Stunt number 2, family first. Salute to this kid, man, for the man he was and had to become for the sake of his family. You see, Ryan was all world even high school. He could have chosen any school in the country but decided to attend NC State for his freshman season, a season where he came in and was as advertised from the jump, being named the ACC Rookie of the Week on December 15, 2010, where he came off the bench to score a then career high 20 points, adding 3 steals, 5 assists, and no turnovers. He finished the year tied for 4th on the team in scoring at 9.3 points a game, and 2nd in assists at 3.3. But things began to take a turn that would change his life's course ever since. Because of the firing of Coach Sidney Lowe, Ryan would request his release from the team and decided to transfer to the Kentucky Wildcats. He would miss the entire 2011-2012 season. All you athletes out there that have to go through this, remember, this is not a relaxed year where you get to do all the college kid things you always wanted to do and not take care of this opportunity. This is the most important year of your life. A lot of expectations falls on you when you return to be a solid asset. Harrow stepped in after the Wildcats had just won a championship and in his first game wasn't ready for whatever reason. Reportedly flu-like symptoms that would cause him to miss the next 4 games. When he returned, we would see a lot more flashes of the player we thought he was. But what we didn't know was that Harrow was dealing with his dad potentially dying from a life-threatening stroke that he suffered before Harrow even played a game in his new situation. Ryan would struggle with this his entire sophomore year, but still managed to put up solid numbers, although Kentucky would go on to have a disappointing season where they failed to make the tourney. After losing in the NIT, Ryan made the decision to transfer to a school closer to his father, stating that this was his only family he had there, and when it's family first, it really isn't a decision. Stunt number 3, an Avalanche of misfortune. It sucks every time I have to do a story on a guy I truly liked and didn't pan out. It's almost too close to home in that I completely understand these situations. For Harrow, it was just too much to fight back from when basketball is moving at the speed it is, especially at the point guard position. People like to call point guards the quarterbacks of basketball, but I think they're really more like running backs, the flashiest position that has the shortest shelf life. Name a point guard that had a dominant 15 to 18 year career. It's even less nowadays. For Harrow to transfer to Georgia State to be closer to his father was the move that made him a forgotten gem. He hit Georgia State University and was cold as ice. His game flourished in that atmosphere, but to no avail. In his first season, he averaged 17.8, 4 assists, and 1 turnover. Those are solid numbers. He was also all conference, but he would be even better in his second year, averaging 18 points per game, shooting 50% from the field and 39 from 3, earning all conference first team again. But sadly, it just went all unnoticed. People just forgot about him, and being that size, as in childish-like body with the smooth game he had, just wasn't attractive to NBA teams. To leave a big-time program after the year he had just had also wasn't enough, and to move to a conference where no one ever hears about you and the team does nothing Cinderella-ish while there just won't get it done. Ultimately, Harrow would go undrafted in 2015 and had been making a name for himself overseas ever since in places like Greece, Lithuania, and Italy. All in all, I'm happy to see he gets a chance to play this game for a living and made decisions as a young man, that of a grown man, in the sake of his family. Salute to Ryan Harrow, still one of my favorite high school mixtapes of all time, man. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.